Hey, what's going on? Today, I want to talk a little bit about myself and my personal development journey as far as the pieces of information that I have consumed over the years, and just want to share that with you as much as I can in chronological order. And I also want to give you a little bit of a background of myself and just uh, where I came from and how I even got started into it. I only really started getting into self help and personal development as late as 2019. So I am only 4 years into this personal development process, and to see how far I've come now is just unbelievable. So a little bit of background about myself. I grew up as a very high strung, like ADHD kid, very little socialization experience. Um, I was always doped up on high amounts of ADHD medication, causing other issues as far as like sleep and socialization and all that stuff. I never fit in, and a lot of it too is just because how I thought. I thought very differently. I didn't relate to other kids. Kids were talking about cars and whatnot. Like, I did like do other stuff like play Minecraft and I would, if I wanted to talk to someone, I would only talk about that thing. But I wouldn't talk about like whatever else. I would just talk about what I'm, you know, into, right? But anyways, yeah, I was the kind of kid that just talked about like very deep shit about life. So I was always like an old soul. I always loved talking about just deep topics about reality and life and whatnot. But I never really had much socialization experience. So growing up, I always have like that whole like slew of assumptions that you get from massive amount of socialization. I didn't get like all the common sense. I didn't integrate that, right? And so that's a little bit. And I also had a lot of anxiety. I couldn't sleep due to massive problems with anxiety and whatnot. I couldn't go outside even because I was scared of like the bees and buzzing and whatnot. And yeah, socialization for a lot was very difficult for me. Not as difficult as I would say for other people, but making new friends was always a challenge. And that was also because I just never felt like I related to anyone because of just how different I thought and all that stuff. Okay, so but throughout my life, I'll tell you, I was always interested in like philosophy and like little wise quotes. Like I didn't really take time to actually study philosophy. Growing up, I was just like super addicted to anything related to the screen, you know, and lived that kind of incel lifestyle, just playing video games all day and browsing internet and whatnot. And so that's kind of where I came from. And I didn't really understand like self help was a thing, was a field. It just didn't exist in my mind, and all that. And so there I am in like 2018 or a little bit earlier, like when Jordan Peterson had that Kathy Newman interview. And it's like, because I had a massive YouTube addiction, right? And I still struggle with that today. But the Kathy Newman interview is like Jordan Peterson destroys feminist or whatever, or destroys all. Well, I don't even know, but you know what I'm talking about. If you know, um, that's the one interview that made him blow up. And then I started watching all the Jordan Peterson clips, and so I just started watching clips. I was just addicted to all the clips, and then eventually I read his book 12 Rules for Life. Um, don't remember that changing my life too much because I wasn't. Yeah, and then at one point I did read like way earlier, The Subtle Art About Not Giving a Fuck, and by that I just mean I listened to the audiobook, but that was in one ear out the other. Like still, you know, not really serious about self improvement yet. And I think for 12 Rules for Life, same thing. And that's a little bit more difficult as well because it's more abstract. But also, I started looking at a lot of the full lectures of Jordan Peterson and stuff like that. even like the biblical series I would listen to. But, so I was just really interested in like the deep philosophical ideas and all that stuff about archetypes and all that stuff. I was really just interested in that, right? And one thing that really resonated with me was just ideas around like, if you actually apply yourself, like you can get what you want. And so for me, that really resonated with me. And, and even like just explicitly saying like clean your room. It's like, fuck yeah. Like that's something that I can do. And so I would say there's that Jordan Peterson there, right? That kind of warmed me up to ideas of personal development. Like not how he is now. Like he's like a super political now. When he was first, on YouTube, how I know him is just a guy that opened my mind up to personal development. None of the political stuff interested me. So just to be clear. And then we have through a friend of my sister's like was recommending me a book by the name of Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he was like, this book is super good. I highly recommend it, blah, blah, blah. Just word of mouth that got to me. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll look at this book. And there I am, I was in college at the time studying my mechanical engineering. And I remember every day I would drive to school. And so I would just put this on audio from an audiobook. And it's kind of funny. Now that I think about this, I think of Prince EA once talking about like, put on an audiobook when you're driving, because then like you arrive to your destination a little bit wiser, and that stuck with me. So yeah, Prince EA, like many years ago, I remember his video, Everybody Dies, But Not Everybody Lives. Huge inspirational video. That one's probably still the most inspirational video for me personally today. And then, so we got Atomic Habits by James Clear. And this was in the beginning of 2019 that I read this book, and then I actually applied it. And I applied it everywhere. I applied it to the hilt. And it changed my life so much that I started like preaching it to every person I talked to. I was like, yo, buy this book, because it helped me so much. And I also, I was still a newbie, right? So I didn't understand that, if it helped me so much, you make the assumption it's just gonna help the whole world. But if everyone applies it, yeah, but not everybody's gonna be warmed up to apply it, right? And also that might not be the thing that they absolutely need right now for their next step. So anyways, Atomic Habits of James Clear, boom, got that down. And then Spark, The Revolutionary New Science on Exercise and the Brain by John Ratey. Boom, read that one as well. And by reading, I just mean like I listened to the audiobook, right? Like for the Atomic Habits, I listened to the audiobook and then I printed out like his worksheets and then I just put them on my wall. And I was always, I was doing a lot of studying at the time, and this really helped me like get into routine and studying and whatnot. And then like I read the Success Principles by Jack Canfield. So in these following months, I've been reading these books. And then The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, first introducing myself to ideas of Stoicism. And this was really powerful as well. Really challenging myself to embrace the shitty part of life, embrace the suck, right? So there was that as well. And so these books here, the Spark by John Ratey convinced me to do cardio and for exercise and whatnot. And I was already doing, some gym stuff here and there in the previous years, like 2017, 18. My sister did competing in for like fitness, and so like the whole family eventually got like revolutionized to like start doing meal prep and all that stuff. Which was really good, and we got all into like working out, and I got into doing the gym stuff as well as early as like 16. I was doing that, just general stuff that people would do, right? That you pick up, like, oh, you see your family doing it, then you're going to do it as well. So age 19, right, is when I really first read and applied my first self-help book. Somewhere, I think, in 2018, I probably read 12 Rules for Life, but nothing really changed my life as extreme as Atomic Habits by James Clear. It was one of those, what you would call a quake book, where it just fucking ruptures all of your life. And so from there, it was very interesting because that year, that spring, I finished my engineering degree, and I was like, it was a really hard moment for me because I realized I didn't want to do engineering at all anymore. And the funny thing is that I wanted to be a product designer the whole time, and the thing that I really needed to get good at was drawing. They didn't really teach well, and that was the thing I was training in my own time. I wanted to be a product designer. Why? Because I was actually interested in the psychology of how someone would interface with a product. And so I realized, no, I'm just interested in in psychology, and so, but more specifically, I wanted to be a life coach, right? And so then that following year, I got life coach training, and then that life coach training I was sharing with my friends at the time. I was like, yo guys, I'm doing this life coach training. And, this is like a group of online friends I was very close with. I was friends with them for 3 years. And I realized that they were, the relationship that they had with me, I thought that they were going to be more supportive, but they weren't. They're like, what the hell? Like, you're only 19. Like, how the fuck? You're not going to be a life coach. What the hell? Go like to a soup kitchen. You'll help people more doing that. And that and there's just, I got made fun of a lot, like all that stuff. It's like, yeah, maybe I won't be a good life coach at 19, but like I'm getting the training now such that by the time I'm 30, I'm going to be really good. But anyways, had to drop so here's my next step in my personal development journey is I dropped my negative group of friends. And that was really tough for me. And I also, at some point, and I think so I'm jumping around now, in 2018 or something, I did the self-authoring program from Jordan Peterson. Okay. And then at some point in the mid 2019, I was into the magnetic memory method from Anthony Metivier. But funny enough, I never actually picked it up. And actually, even though I bought the course, I still have it. But one day I'll get to it. But that was good to know, though, because I was willing to actually spend some serious money. It was like $300 to $400 of money. $300 to $400 just towards a personal development product. And then there's, I need to also note that in the beginning of 2019, I picked up mind mapping from the success principles from Jack Canfield. And that was very interesting because I took, once again, just like Atomic Habits, I took mind mapping to the hilt. I completely mind mapped everything. I mind mapped 30 things I want to do, 30 things I want to be, 30 things I wanted to have before I die. And I did that exercise, and then I just started mind mapping fucking everything that I wanted to think about. And just exploring this was like my own personal version of individualized, independent thought and contemplation. So, now I'm starting to get that ball rolling as well. So I'm completely revolutionized my life with mind mapping. Okay, so then fast forward, we're in middle of 2019, right? So I'm getting my life coaching training, losing my friends, and then late 2019 or mid to late 2019 in the fall, I go and pick up a job as a safety watch, a man watch, for like a construction site. So basically, like you're just watching people work such that they're working safely. Very simple, you know. I pick up that job, and before I'm like, shit, I need to like find a bunch of podcasts or whatever to listen to. And one day I happened to be helping a friend, you know, by sending him all the self-help information I knew about, just to, you know, pass it on. And because I remember one day I looked up on YouTube, just like self-help YouTube channel or whatever, something like that. And then I bookmarked like the first like 100 YouTube channels that I found. And then one of them was actualize.org. And you know, I remember just going through them and like looking at the actualize.org page and like not knowing really a damn thing about it. But like there was just something about it that like really interested me. Like it was just something like, this is something different here. And I looked on the website, and he has like his audios of his videos downloadable on his website. So there I go, and I download fucking every single audio, and then I put it on my phone. So there I am now. Fast forward, you know, let's say like September, October. I am at this job where I am on my breaks. I'm listening to these like hour-long podcasts of like spiral dynamics and, you know, the great theory of knowledge, and how, you know, knowledge is just a web of constructs, and then like one thing after another. And I'm just getting my mind blown left and right. It's like just one mind blown session after another. And then I'm like, fuck, this is so valuable. And he offers a life purpose course. And I was earning really good money at the time. So I'm like, yeah, fuck, it's like a day's work or 2 days work. It's like, yeah, let's fucking buy this. No problem. So I bought that life purpose course. And then once that work season finished, I spent the entire month of like November, I'm trying to remember. I think the entire month of October. So yeah, working in September. But yeah, one of those months there, in the end of the year, I'd like the whole month I was just doing the life purpose course every fucking day. I was reading every single book that was recommended, you know, just the whole day. I would just listen to the book, you know, and I was like playing Minecraft while listening to the book on like 2x speed, and then like doing the lesson, and then listening to the recommended books. And I was just going through the whole thing, just like a massive cramming session, you know, like 23 books in 1 month. I come out there with a life purpose statement and all that, and zone of genius and whatnot. And then bam, okay. December rolls around. I don't know what I'm trying to figure out shit, like with my new life purpose. 2020, this, you know, January 1st, I start my document for my book, Dopamine Fishing. And I'm like, okay, let's get this going. And I just go hard. And, you know, within the first 20 days, I got 70,000 words on that page, or within the first month or whatever, right? And then, so, you know, and I was also, I should also say, in December there, I was listening to a lot of Alex Becker on his videos on like productivity and like how dopamine affects your productivity and all that stuff. And so like Alex Becker videos actually gave me like a super light bulb moment, and that was the inspiration for my book Dopamine Fishing, which as of right now I'm still working on it, you know, 3 years later. And just in the last several months I've made serious strides in actually making progress on it, because what ended up happening after January and like February, I just shelved that book. I just massive wall of text of like loosely related information, right? And then like as time went on, right? And so yeah, and then as the time goes on, fast forwarding, I'd pick up a job where I'm washing windows, uh, and I'm listening to more Leo lectures as I'm washing, and uh, so like a lot, like just completely like going through Leo Giro's channel, actualize.org, just completely going through that. And then I'm just trying to see if I can fit in. I mean, and I was also trying to listen to like other audiobooks here and there. I remember at one point I got really into like David Goggins with his book, and I got into running, and I got into doing that consistently every single day, just like 4 kilometers. And that was a lot for me. And I got into writing from the book Writing Down the Bones by Natalie Goldberg, because I knew I needed to get better at writing, but I just didn't know how. And I was like, oh yeah, it's the practice routines, right? And so writing down the bones technique was just like putting that pen on the page and not stopping until like your timer rings or until you finish your page. And I loved that, so I did that for a while. And yeah, I mean, I also always had this like idea, like, yeah, I want to be a life coach, or I want to write, I want to make YouTube videos. But I was like, hey, should I settle on one thing? And I realize now, like, I can't really settle on one thing. I kind of have to do it all, which is a lot of shit. But, when I want to get something done, I have to put all my effort into one thing. So that's been the book as of recent, right? Okay. And I would say just as of like so we're fast forwarding all the way to 2023. And late 2022, I started listening to Wes Watson. And I've gotten really into Wes Watson. He's definitely the most motivating individual I've come across. And yeah, it had a couple of his videos here and there. And I just started watching more and more. And I started to really understand what he's saying. And that's something I had to warm up to. It was very interesting to see. And now I'm on a journey to consume every single video of his. And so I've watched like over 200 of his videos now, and just like listening to them. And I'm like writing down the insights that pop out to me. I have like hundreds of insights that I just, picked out from Wes, what Wes has said. It's not that it was necessarily his idea, but, it came through, he said it, right? So those are I'm just writing it down there, right? And yeah, I mean, and then throughout the whole process, doing one job here and there, and the whole process, I'm trying to figure out like how to organize my time better, how to get to bed on time, how to integrate habits. I started, habits here and there. So I'm just practicing the day to day. And then as of recent, like I am really focusing on my thoughts. I realized that once I can focus on what my mind is saying, and like I'm just have constant awareness over my mind and emotions and mood, that's gonna cause the most ripple effect. And I'm focusing on trying to cultivate positivity in my relationships. Oh, and I should talk about as well, late 2022 is when I started finally upping my socialization and getting way better at socialization, when I started applying Leo's videos on Pickup, which was just, me going out and practicing talking to everybody, right? And just practicing that muscle of strengthening that muscle of just being able to talk to anybody in the room. That's really my number one goal. Is I just want to be able to talk to anybody in the room. And so I did a lot of that, did a lot of going out just in the past year there. Just in the end there, I went out a couple dozen times, right? But I've made huge strides now where I can approach groups of random people, because I've just been really, I would go out alone and I would not take any substances or drink any alcohol. I'm going out completely sober, right? And just to train myself to be able to approach people confidently. So that's another thing I've done on my personal development journey. And so that's been a really interesting thing as well. And then as far as now, I'm like, okay, I'm focusing on training myself with like, hey, physical fitness, getting more specific about my nutrition, wake up times, bed times, just overall generally like scheduling my days, and practicing my skills, practicing writing, doing my speaking routines such that I can upload at least one video per day. And yeah, I'm just grinding away, trying to finish that book when I have the fucking time, because right now I'm working full time. So I'm just doing everything else around it, right? And that's good, because I want to shelve it as well right now, because I've literally been staring at that book for several hundred hours for the last, since like February to from November to February, just like straight, like grinding at that book every day. So yeah, that's kind of an overview of kind of just the sources of information, other people that I could mention like all the other, because this is not a fully comprehensive list of every piece of information I got, but I would say that these are the most influential pieces of information as far as like what has really helped me. The Jordan Peterson self-authoring program and just his lectures. And then, Leo Gira's entire channel with actualize.org and also his life purpose course. I would read books like, Deep Work here and there and stuff like that. But the best ones that have really improved my life has been learning mind mapping from Jack Canfield and applying mind mapping to fucking everything in my life. And then also, of course, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And then now, as of recent, like really setting higher standards in my life, listening to Wes Watson with his motivation and his way of thinking about approaching your life. And yeah, that's been quite the journey now, and I can't wait to see, like, I want to now completely consume Andrew Huberman's channel, and that'll be very interesting to see what I learned from that. Writing down the bones, I will say, also was a serious game changer for me as well, because I got myself a practice routine of practicing writing. So that really helped, just that journaling stuff. I did journaling here and there, like desire journaling. That was learned from Anthony Metivier with his magnetic memory method. So, yeah. It's been, it doesn't sound like much, I would say, but like what I just listed there is like at least 2,000 hours of listening and studying, at least, So, yeah. It's only 2,000 hours. So, yeah. That's kind of my journey in a very small nutshell. I can't believe I forgot this shit. Fucking EMDR therapy. I got a lot of that shit too. And that released my anxiety from like bees and bugs. And then also, yes, I've done a lot of mushroom trips. And that really helped me quench my fear of death and just allow me to like fear of like sleeping and like fear of the dark and stuff like that. Like just bullshit like that. So lots of shadow work, lots of it. You know, EMDR, psychedelic therapy. Yeah, lots of that. Forgiveness therapy. The reach technique from the book Authentic Happiness. Yeah, that's a huge fucking thing. Yeah, the shadow work. And just overall, just always looking for ways to like, okay, what's my next step? How am I going to move the needle again? You know, stuff like that. And now I'm just focusing on like, okay, how do I have more on days than off days? How do I, you know, control my dopamine reserves and whatnot, such that like I'm not wasting my willpower or motivation. You know, how do I have a positive self-talk? How do I destroy any negative self-talk or inner critic or whatever, any limiting belief? And a lot of it's just how do I stay consistent, you know, and how do I just keep on pushing and do the things that are going to grow me. You know, a lot of, you know, the past, let's say 4 years of my whole personal development journey, a lot of it, I can't believe I forgot this. A lot of it was just fighting every day to like lose my addictions, right? So everything, right? I mean, I did like I did like a no fap for like 180 days, you know, quitting the porn addiction. And then also now, like, you know, quitting the addiction up to video games and to YouTube and just browsing the internet. Like, you know, like I'm still struggling with that like today, but like not nearly as much, like 90 to 95%, like fucking less than what it was. Like where I was, man, I was like 8 hours a day, like watching YouTube, like just doing fucking nothing but watching YouTube, you know, or playing video games, right? So that was the kind of life I was living. Now it's like, for sure, less than an hour a day, if not like a lot, like way less, you know, because I'm just focusing on what I need to focus on now. And that's been the journey for the last 4 years. It's just been like unwiring myself from all those addictions and unwiring all these patterns where I go to comfort or where I indulge in a vice. So that's a lot of the work too. Like that's been most of it, just getting rid of the shit that's fucking me up. So lots of struggle there, lots of struggle to get myself to be disciplined and to go to bed on time. And yeah, like just working all that out. So yeah, that's been the biggest piece of the cake. Just unwiring all that. So I think that's it. That's all I want to cover for this. Yeah, it's been quite the journey now that I think about it. I'm almost like in a year, like I'm only at 4 years now, like 4 years, and I've already grown so much. It's unbelievable. And yeah, like I'm really at a place now where like I've unfucked myself so well, where I'm not addicted to so much anymore. And I'm actually able to discipline myself and do things every day and not fall off the track and have proper coping mechanisms and have self-investment processes and all that. So yeah, I'm proud of myself to look back on this now. It's a lot of fucking listening, a lot of learning, a lot of struggling, but man, is it worth it? And I'm just getting started. So, yeah. With that, I'd like to thank you for watching or listening if you've gotten this far. Holy shit, 35 minutes. Yeah. Damn. So with that, thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next